Hello again, Broncos country.
Really excited to chop up some Broncos with you all this week.
Bourbon, Broncos, and no BS.
Orange
Time, your favorite time of the week. We're not for the Raiders, Chargers, or Chiefs. So grab your brews and your fantasy league. We got that blue and orange blood that you bleed. Rock, Lindsay, Sutton, and Judy. We are the Mile High Broncos country.
Orange Weekly, fans, brews, and Broncos news.
Hello again, Broncos country, and thank you guys for tuning in so far. This is our second episode of the season as we are getting to ramp up for what is sure to be a pretty intense and crazy season as we're going into this world of unknowns going into the season. But hey, we are going to talk preseason with you guys. We're going to talk about what we're expecting for the defense today. If you want to check out what we talk about for the offense, go on to our Facebook page or our podcast and listen to what we talked about for the offense. Today, we're talking about the defense, and we got some heavy hitters coming in today. As always, we have Ayla, David, and Kev Dan eventually is going to be coming in. Hey, there he is. Holy crap, Kev. And we can't hear you. All right. Nope. So good start. Great start. Okay. Well, hey, guys, thank you guys so much for joining us. And Matt's in as well. And as Matt is now going to be doing a lot of producing as well. And it's going to be good times. It's going to be good times. Oh, we can hear Kev's background now. Yeah, there we go. Hey, Kev, where are you at right now?
So I am right here at Colorado Cork and Keg in Castle Rock, Colorado. It's a great spot if you're either driving down from Denver or up from Colorado Springs, or if you're just in Colorado, want a good place to go. Castle Rock right here in Colorado, and got some interesting pitches here for them. They got $10 New Belgium lager pitchers. They got Sundays 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. bottomless mimosas. I'm going to be here for that. And if you come in and you mention Orange Weekly, you get half off your first drink. So come in for that. Some mimosas, special Sunday food menu. They got you covered. This is the place to be. Oh, and they're only open on Sundays for Broncos games. So this is the place to be for some good Broncos football, which we're not too far away from. Cork and Keg here in Castle Rock, Colorado. Come out and see them and tell them Orange Weekly sent you.
Man. Hey, that New Belgium deal sounds amazing. I almost got part of that.
I went with some Scotch tonight instead.
Good call.
Some Scotch. That's why I was wondering.
Yeah, I'm really excited to join Kevin once the season gets started and we can get some of those deals. I wouldn't say we're going to abuse those deals, but we're definitely going to take pretty stringent advantage of a lot of those deals. Yeah.
You know, I didn't think about it. If I walk in and say Orange Weekly sent me, would that give me a drink?
If we both walk in and said Orange Weekly sent us, do they combine it into one free drink that then we, maybe next week I get the free drink, maybe the week after you get, or we can just share? Because quite frankly, Kev, at this point,
I'm down for that.
Yeah, what germs have you and I not shared? We're getting off the topic already. Maybe we should get out of it.
Sounds like you guys need to drink more. Jeez, just splitting one drink.
Maybe I do.
Cheers.
I don't remember anything, David. What? Okay.
Let's move on.
Let's move
Oh
on to
man,
some
so here
Broncos
we are.
football.
Here we are. We're taking our drinks and we're gonna talk Broncos as always. We got a couple comments rolling in. Keep the comments coming, guys. We thrive and we are here for you guys. We're going off of your comments. We're talking about what you guys want to talk about, as well as talking to ourselves all day, which we do anyway. So please post your comments in there. Interact with us. We'll have a lot of interaction going on for this episode, as well as the rest of the season. We have a lot of stuff to talk about as we go through the season, and we have a lot of things coming to you this year. That's going to be super interesting. We'll get to that in the middle of the podcast, but let's talk Broncos football, guys. Huh?
That's what it came for.
All right, let's do this. All right, so we're going to talk about the defense. What, going around as a starter, what is our biggest excitement for our defense going into this year?
I got 2 words. Justin Simmons.
There it is.
Okay.
Bring it on. Bring more interceptions. Bring some team camaraderie around that guy. I mean, can we talk about a hot point? Like, had a great year last year. I think can grow on it. I think he deserves the big money. He makes me excited, and I can't wait for more.
And we saw a record, well, not a record, but a market-setting deal for safeties today in the NFL. Buda Baker from the Arizona Cardinals got paid. And it's the kind of deal where you look at it, and Justin Simmons is certainly looking at it and saying, all right, well, that the market only goes up from here. And I think that if a guy like Buda Baker gets market-setting money, Justin Simmons has definitely earned it, considering how he played last year. And like Ayla said, what we're expecting this year, I think a lot bigger things to come.
What about Bradley
I mean,
Chubb?
that's Bradley Chubb. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
oh gosh, yeah.
He was supposed to have such a huge year last year. He went down in game 3, game 4, and to pair him back up with Von Miller and just all the other pieces the Broncos have added, and another year with Coach Fangio's system. I mean, I can't see him not just doing incredibly well this year, especially with Von Miller on the other side. So I was really hoping to see him last year have that really strong second year, but I think this is it.
I want to see him stay healthy. I want to, Bradley Chubb will be a dynamic element. There's going to be something, the chemistry with him and Von Miller, but that makes me nervous, excited. There's past injury. It's just, you just want him to stay healthy no matter what.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm going to go off of Ayla's concept here and going it with the defensive backs. So not just Justin Simmons. Obviously, Justin Simmons is a big piece of our defense. And I think he's going to be a huge leader. But you got Jackson as his free safety, which has been playing very well. I know he's getting a little older, and we've had him for a little while. But now Kareem Jackson. And then we have A.J. Boye and Bryce Callahan as our starting corners. I think our defensive back is going to start looking much better, as we're actually having a solid core as opposed to a couple plug and plays here and there as we lose people. I think that's what I'm most excited for, to see what our defense backs, and again, you have Von Miller and Bradley Chubb rushing the quarterback. Our DBs are gonna have to play well. The mirror's killing me.
Absolutely. Oh, God. Yeah. The only thing better than seeing Jared once is seeing Jared twice in a podcast.
Right.
That's
it's
really...
the back of the head. See, they asked me to get my strong side. It's the back of me.
Yeah.
Right. Definitely not this. Yeah.
No, not your strongest side. But John touched on it a little bit. My God, it's been several months, and I am still baffled that Jarrell Casey was just available for a 7th-round pick. Oh my gosh, that guy is an insanely talented guy with a lot left in the tank, a little bit older like we know, but still really a lot to give to this team. Has been absolutely killing it in training camp, swatting a lot of balls away, getting a lot of inside pressure. And I know it's training camp practices, so you take all of that with a grain of salt. But I think that's a guy who is going to help our defense on every level this season. He's going to help in pass rush situations. He's going to help on rundowns. It's really going to be a big-time change as far as production from the guys up front this year, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I am definitely excited about Jarrell Casey as well. As sad as I was, and to see Wolf be off of our team, that was kind of a blow to it. But we got to keep Shelby Harris. So, I mean, but I think Jarrell Casey will bring an element of, even though 10 years sounds like a lot, like that veteran person in the NFL is so key for a team, and that he feels wanted.
Yes.
You know, and he talked about that, about, you know, he's excited because the Broncos want him. Like, we made it happen. And it sounds like from all around the team that there's a lot of camaraderie going on, which I think we needed.
Yes. Yeah. The young guys, Draymond Jones especially, has kind of pointed out specifically to Casey as a guy whose brain he's been able to pick, and who has really been kind of a real leader from the moment he stepped into that defensive line room. So like you said, Ayla, as much as we're going to miss Derek Wolfe, at this point in their respective careers, I think we probably upgraded that position as opposed to last year.
Yeah, I agree.
And not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but with the Titans right around the corner and that defensive line, I mean, I think the first few games of the season for everybody across the board is going to really rely on your defense. So having that defensive line to be able to stop Derrick Henry back there, and even the inside linebackers and everything, I mean, a little younger there, especially without the leadership of Derek Wolfe, but it's going to be interesting to see for sure and see how that line grows.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, I think the defensive line, it's got a lot of potential, but I'm worried about depth. I'm worried about the depth on the defensive line. We have some young rookies that is going to be able to step in. We have some young rookies. I know David's super high on a couple of the defensive linemen. David, what are you thinking about our depth there at D-line?
It's not so bad, honestly. You look at a guy like McTelvin Agim, who, like you said, Jared, has been one of my crushes since we drafted him earlier this offseason. I think with guys like that, you've got Draymond Jones in there ready to take a rotational role. You've got Shelby Harris is going to be the starter again, a guy who swats down a ton of balls at the line of scrimmage, really makes an impact. The depth there is pretty young, but as far as what we've got as starters and then potential young guys ready to maybe take that next step into bigger rotational roles and then maybe even into starting roles as the season goes on, I really like it. You've still got DeMarcus Walker there. You've got a guy like Christian Covington who was a mainstay on the Dallas defensive line for a lot of years. He might not even have a job on this team. The depth and the youth on this defensive line may mean that he's just one of the odd men out, despite being a pretty productive player for Dallas for a lot of years. So I'm excited for the depth. There's a little bit more questions, I think, about the defensive backfield as far as depth goes that I think we're even seeing come to play right now in training camp. But defensive line, I think we're pretty solid there.
Yep.
I'm just saying we're going to have to rely on them to win those first couple of games. I mean, the defense as a whole, but especially when we're facing Derrick Henry, because if anything, the Titans coming out there going to rely on Derrick Henry heavily to win those first few games for him. So what are we going to do to stop it?
It's kind of the nature of this offseason as well. You know, the Titans are one of those few teams that has continuity with offensive coaches, quarterback, and running back. So they're kind of, as far as the offense goes, just running it back this year. And they're going to, they already know which run plays work for them, which ones don't. And we saw this defense have success against Derrick Henry last season. But like Kevin said, especially early in the season with this offseason, defenses are going to have to be leading the way for a lot of teams. This one's no exception.
Yeah, hey Matt, put that comment back up because I think that's a big point, and I think the biggest part about this upcoming season, John, is that especially that first game is the Jurrell Casey, the line of Jurrell Casey. Like, not that the Titans got rid of him, but we wanted him so bad, but he didn't want to stay there. There's bad blood there, and you're right. I hope Casey goes into that game and just has the best game of his career against them and just goes to town on the Titans.
Yeah, for sure. Good one on that, John. Always bring in the good comments. Thanks, buddy.
For everyone else watching, if you haven't joined us here before, we're all about talking to you guys, the viewers. So post your comments, post your questions. We want to hear what you have to say, and maybe you'll even get your comment posted up on the big board here, like this one. Going back to Jared.
Yes.
So
that
one.
Yep.
I might save this one.
Thanks, Lalo.
I might just throw it up there every now and then throughout the season. So
we should.
I mean, why do you think we're all wearing hats? Like, get out of here.
Oh man. Okay, so let's talk about a defensive grouping that definitely doesn't have a lot to stand on right now. We're looking real light in the linebacker position, especially with our rookie Justin Strnad. You know, someone that. Okay, let me back up. Everyone that has been watching us for a while, and I will apologize for this because I am really heavy on wanting to get a linebacker that can cover, and we haven't really gone out and tried to do that really heavily. We're relying heavy on Johnson and Todd Davis, but we've been hit heavy by the injury bug on the linebacker front, especially with Justin Strnad going out for the rest of the season with a wrist injury. What can we do to bolster our linebacker core going into this season so that we're not worried about it?
I mean, at this point, it's tough. There's not a ton of free agents out there who are going to make an instant impact to your team. Because, you know, if those guys were out there, they'd already be signed. They'd be in training camps with teams already. So, you know, you might see a guy like Nigel Bradham or maybe Wesley Woodyard, a veteran like that, you get signed just for camp. But at this point, we're kind of in a position like we were in last year where Todd Davis is injured, you know, expected back before the end of the season, certainly, hopefully this season before the start of the season. But you're still in a position where that depth is hurting a little bit, and you're not, you know, there's not going to be one guy out there that's going to be the silver bullet that's just going to solve the position for you.
Well, and do we bring back somebody that is unsigned that used to play with us before? I saw, you know, some names out there. Like, do we do something like that, or do we just look for somebody new has never been part of the team? I don't know.
I mean, it's more a question, I think, now of scheme fit as opposed to, you know,
right.
Should we get somebody who's already played with us?
Right, and I think a big part of it's going to come down to who cuts who here towards the regular season. Like, we have our starting core. We obviously want a little bit more depth there. And, you know, there's some guys like Justin Hollins who plays outside linebacker who could really end up playing on the inside and being that cover guy. But what really comes down to is who we can pick up in this offseason and fill those holes and fill that depth. And I'd love this stat, thanks to Matt. Alexander Johnson, let's talk about him. He was ranked number 6 inside linebacker according to Pro Football Focus. So here's the big one. He was ranked number 1 through the first 6 games of the season. And I know at the beginning of last season we were talking real highly on this guy, and he kind of dropped off. He stopped getting as many snaps and still finished number 6 overall. What are we thinking? What are we expecting from him going into this season?
I expect huge things from him. I mean, he stepped up. He has made his presence known. Bring on that dinosaur. Oh, I like him. He's my guy. That's the other thing that makes me super fired up and gives me goosebumps. I believe in him. He's a good player.
So, look, I don't care who does it or how they do it, but we have got to find a way to cover tight ends. Period. Out the end. That's something that we have been struggling for a while now. So those kind of positions really stepping up. I mean, Travis Kelce's going to eat us for lunch otherwise. You know what I mean? So it's just something to watch for.
Absolutely. And go ahead, Jared.
So what I was going to say is there's 2 things. So we have Todd Davis and Josie Jewell. And also, I hate to break it to you, Kevin, but we didn't address that in the offseason. That was, and if we addressed it in the offseason, it was Justin Strnad, who's now out for the season. So if we're expecting anything to change from last year to this year based on our coverage of tight ends, maybe Alexander Johnson or Josie Jewell, you know, lost a few pounds and gained took a half a second off of their 40 somehow.
Sure.
But I don't think anything's going to change this year.
What about the scheme? I mean, that's
the schemes.
That's the only thing I can think of. But one of those, somebody has to step up and do it. Otherwise, look, people are just going to be passing to the tight ends all day long, and they're just going to march down the field. So
here's the thing with the scheme that my point on this is, so we are very heavy in the zone. We play a little bit of man. The press man is over. Of the Denver Broncos no fly zone, press man with the heavy rushes is over. We play that zone defense. So when we say who's going to cover the tight ends, sometimes it's not necessarily the linebacker that has to go man-to-man with Travis Kelce. It's who's got that zone and who's going to be able to cover it. And I agree, like, we haven't been able to, from John here, we haven't been able to address that for years. And that's something that, honestly, and this is why this last season I was so high on trying to pick up someone like Patrick Queen to this in the draft, because I thought we needed someone like that, someone that's versatile, sideline to sideline linebacker. But if we're going to stick with the zone scheme, and that's what the Broncos went with, then I'm obviously all for it. We just need to figure out where that zone scheme is and make sure that we can cover in the zone.
Well, and that's, Patrick Queen, a guy you mentioned. We tried to trade up back into the first round and get during the draft. And the Ravens, being the Ravens, they identified a talent and went and got him.
Right.
So, but I can't remember the stat for sure. I remember, though, reading after last season that the Broncos as a whole throughout the year were much more close to the middle of the pack in covering tight ends than toward the end. But the problem is you've got 2, maybe 3 elite tight ends in the division now with Hunter Henry, Travis Kelce, and now the emergence of Darren Waller last season. Even average middle of the pack, if you're really, really good against the rest of the league's tight ends and really, really terrible at against your own division's tight ends, you're still not going to win, the meaningful games where it counts. You're still going to give up big plays in big spots when you really need your defense to hold. So, whether it's something we scheme up or whether, a guy like Josie Jewell gets a lot better in camp this season, it's something that's going to bear watching.
So I will tell you, every time Travis Kelce just destroyed our defense and just marched down the field, it always made me want to drink. And if we don't fix that, that's okay, because here at Colorado Cork and Keg, Sundays from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. are bottomless mimosas. So whether it's during the game or before the game, and I know it's going to be that tight end issue, I'll be prepared with those bottomless mimosas. Give Colorado Cork and Keg a like on Facebook and definitely come by for that.
Kevin, if they offered to tattoo their name across your chest, would you do it?
No, but I am considering changing this to Bourbon Brats and Broncos News.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They got food, too. They got food.
Oh, God. This is great. This is great. Okay, so we talked about defensive line. We talked about linebackers pretty in depth. Let's go to the secondary. Let's talk about this secondary. What are we expecting from our secondary? Yeah, I also hate Kelce. He's kind of, I just wish he wasn't so good.
Really good. Right, and he's also kind of a jackass, and that's like a bad combination.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a jackass. Yeah. I hate because he's so good. Yep. Like, stop being so good.
Like, what can you say to somebody who's that big of a jackass when they're also super talented? Like, oh, you got nothing.
I don't know. I don't want to say the B word, but
go ahead.
It reminds me of a certain old quarterback who just moved to Florida. Yeah. Hate him, but they're good.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, don't make us say it, Kevin.
Just take another bite of your brat, Kevin.
Put your brat in your mouth right now. You put that dog in your mouth right now. All right.
I'm not going to say no to that.
Put that sausage in your mouth.
Yeah, put it in your mouth. And okay. So as we move on, let's talk about this second. Let's get back to what we're here for, guys. This is what the bourbon does to us.
Well, maybe. I mean, that was, yeah.
So let's get back to what we're here for. So, okay, let's talk about the secondary. So we have a very new looking secondary. Obviously, Callahan missed a lot of games last year, the whole season, basically last year. We have AJ Boye, who played for the Jaguars last year, and obviously our talented duo in Kareem Jackson and Justin Simmons, who are all high ranked and very well established in the league. So now we have these 2 young guys coming in to play our corners, obviously with backups like Isaac Yadam, who's kind of been, hit or miss on a lot of his games. What are we expecting from our secondary that we didn't get last year?
A little more cohesion. To me, especially having 2 safeties who have played an entire season in this scheme in Jackson and Simmons, as we already kind of talked about. And then you've got Callahan, who spent a ton of time in the Vic Fangio defense, coming back, knows exactly where he's supposed to be, when he's supposed to be there.
Says he feels like he's 100%. I mean, he's been talking. He feels good. I know, Jared. I see that face, and we want to believe him. We have to trust his words at this point. It's just what we have to do.
I wish we had Jason on. I wish we had Jason on to tell me how many times he's had an athlete come up to him and say, "Oh, coach, I'm ready. Put me back in the game. I'm so ready. I feel 100%." Because I've said it multiple times, and I couldn't see more than 15 less than 15 stars at the time. So
I'm
like,
glad we don't have Jason to tell us that, because that would take my confidence down a notch, not up a notch, Jared.
No, he has a way of doing that. He he sounds confident himself, but then he tells you these stories, and your own confidence and everything just plummets. So
right,
absolutely.
But he has that insight.
Yeah, for sure. And exactly. Like Tyler was saying, Devontae Bosby did have a good year. He only appeared in a couple of games, but those couple of games made me think this is a guy who really knows in this system where he's supposed to be and what he's supposed to be doing. He's another kind of unfortunate camp injury that the list is just growing and growing right now. He's been held out of practice the last couple of days. Sounds like, from what Vic Fangio said, his chances to return to practice after the off day tomorrow are pretty good, but it's just another one of those kind of soft tissue injuries that we're dealing with right now. Just the lack of conditioning in the run up to this offseason has really been tough on this Broncos defense.
Yeah, so another person that played really well, and he played really well up until one game he didn't. They kind of pulled him, and I didn't see him again, was Devontae Harris. So as far as depth goes, Devontae Harris was playing pretty well. And let's not forget, and I know we talked about this in the draft episode, but we have Michael Ojemudia coming with us too, if he makes the team, if he stays with us through the thing. So that's another thing that we got to look forward to as we're going forward. How many of these guys are going to end up making the team?
Well, and Ojemudia, another guy who's dealing with a soft tissue injury right now and not practicing, sounding like he's going to be out for a few more weeks, unfortunately. Not as close as returning.
This is quad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so he's not as close to returning to practice as Bosby is. It's, like we've been talking about, and like somebody wrote in their article last week.
Go check out David's article, you guys.
Right, go to the website.
BroncosOrangeWeekly.com, guys. We're putting up all kinds of articles this year. But it's that depth is being tested right now at cornerback. Ojemudia, a third-round guy who was getting a lot of praise for being able to pick up the defense really fast, but you're losing those practice reps now, and that's a killer just as far as rookies being able to contribute at all during the season. Yeah, so we're going to have to kind of see as far as that goes. The depth there is not what I would like. Jared, your guy Devontae Harris, it sounds like he, Duke Dawson, and Bosby are all really kind of competing for that number 3 corner spot. None of them have it locked down as of yet. Vic Fangio said today after practice that he would really like one guy to put a stamp on that position before the end of training camp and make it his own. He wants
somebody to just stand out. He wants us to notice that, he wants it to be obvious to us who is going to make the roster. He doesn't want this close battle. We don't want this close battle. We need somebody to be this star. We need somebody to step up right now. Because that's what it takes. And it's going to take, this is a weird season. We need somebody to come forward and make it happen.
For sure. Absolutely.
And then to go back to the question that was posted earlier about whether or not AJ Boye was a zone or defense. There you go. Boye, a man or zone guy. So Jaguars employ the same defense that we do. They're very much kind of like a heavier zone, but they do go to man from time to time depending on the situation. So the defensive scheme, the change in the defensive scheme, I don't think is going to be much of an issue for him. And I think that's possibly part of the reason we brought him over in the first place, is because he does play zone and he can play zone if he needs to.
Is that Fangio's background just coming into play?
Well, for that, and he also kind of did come into from, I don't know if it was necessarily the exact same defense, but a Seattle-style cover 3 in Jacksonville that they played under Gus Bradley. Definitely zone oriented for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he definitely, I think he's going to fit in pretty well. And I think Fangio is thinking about that. He's going to find someone that's going to fit in the scheme and employ him to where he needs to. And again, Justin Simmons, very good from where he was this year to the one last year. He is a much better safety in this system that he's playing in this year. And as our producer has put down here, Fangio is running a 3-4 base cover 4. And that's obviously it mixes zone with man, which is kind of what I was saying earlier. Kind of the same concept that Jacksonville does, especially in the backfield.
Yeah, absolutely. And Callahan is a guy who has spent a ton and we've got a couple of questions about this kind of. Callahan, a guy who has played slot corner very successfully. Come on, Jared.
I said that.
Yeah, I know. But a guy who's played slot corner primarily throughout his career and been very, very successful at that, but also a guy who the coaching staff might look at and say, this is our best or second best cornerback on the roster. Let's not just pigeonhole him into one position. We want him on the field more often than not. So maybe during nickel situations, he probably does move into the slot. But I would not be surprised if we see Bryce Callahan playing a lot of outside corner this season, kind of like we saw with Chris Harris last season.
Right. So here's the question now. If we put Callahan on the inside, who's going to be our secondary outside? So obviously AJ Boye would be our primary outside. Are we going to put Isaac Yadom as our number 2?
They say he's been battling.
Yeah, that's it. It's like that's
I
what
can
this
battle. I don't want to.
I know we don't want to battle. We want to star. Hello.
We want to start.
Right.
Yeah. And that's what this third cornerback position battle has really been about. The kind of the discussion between Harris, Bosby, and Dawson on who's going to step in on those out downs on the outside and kind of hopefully not miss a beat as far as coverage goes.
Yep. Kevin, you got anything there from the bar? Are you done eating your brat?
Oh no, I'm saving the rest for later. It's
oh great. Oh.
I can't think about putting together coherent sentences while eating. So
it's hard. It's hard with such a glorious sausage to put in your mouth there. It must be hard to kind of focus on.
I want
else.
more to put more in my mouth, but
yeah,
maybe off camera.
Thoughts?
I mean, David and I already said that. I don't know what you said at the beginning of the show, but it was kind of weird.
Something about swapping DNA. Who remembers?
That's right. Swapping DNA. That's how you said it.
Yeah, germs.
I didn't want to botch it. So
yeah, absolutely.
No, this place is, I'd say, pretty busy for a Tuesday night. It's pretty fantastic. Hockey on the TV. And I said, when the season starts up, Sundays they'll be open for Broncos games. So place to be, man.
I just want to say I'm super jealous because I miss being at a bar.
Well, come on out here to Colorado, and I have the perfect place for you. No, but really,
oh man! All right,
look, there's gonna be a lot of questions on this defense, especially when it comes to these battles, right? So, knowing what it's gonna look like, by the time we get to Week 1 football, it's anybody's guess, right? And even then, what are we gonna do to be able to switch out some people or try some different things? So, I'm not. God damn it, Jared.
Just go for it, man. Just go.
Just do it. Just do it. Anyway, yeah, trying to get this defense ready because, again, this defense is, I'm going to say it for the next few weeks. If we're going to go 2-2 or even 3-1 in the first couple weeks, it's going to be because of our defense.
Absolutely. Peyton Manning, who observed a practice last week, basically said the same thing. We're going to have to rely on the defense here while the offense gets its legs under it this season.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, Peyton Manning said that too? Man, I'm like as smart as him.
That is one way to interpret that sequence of facts. Yeah.
That is like a big stretch,
especially for a man with a forehead that large. You're really putting yourself.
I'm trying.
Fair.
Your forehead doesn't make you any taller, Kev.
You're gonna have to. Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Ayla with the punches.
I mean, he's still got like 15 inches or so on you.
Now I need to eat. Now I'm sad to eat.
Matt has officially posted that Manning's forehead is taller than Kevin, and I do not deny.
That's not just our Orange Week. I think if you go to Pro Football Focus, you can actually measure that. And they have those advanced stats.
Right, ranked 1 and 2.
Yeah,
ranked 1 and 2. Speaking of Pro Football Focus, let's go back to Denver Broncos football. What did we in 2019? Denver Broncos defense was ranked what according to Pro Football Focus? Number what?
Oh gosh.
Take a guess.
Up there.
Take a guess.
8.
3 no, 8 no.
12.
Somewhere in the middle. No.
Somewhere in the middle.
12. 5.
That is funny. Yes. Yeah. Between 3 and 8.
You met the middle
12.
of them. Jeez.
And that, now that's a pretty interesting stat when you remember how gosh damn miserable it was to watch this team on defense for the first 4 weeks of the season. Couldn't buy a sack. Forget about turnovers. It was
But
absolutely
nobody scored a lot of points against us. We didn't have this run up of points. It was like we just barely lost so many games.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we could have won that one if it was for that one thing. And that one thing was the defense holding us together.
Or a kicker.
Right.
Or a kicker.
And you could tell there was it was a super talented group of guys who was just not ready to play in the system quite yet. And, they figured it out as the season went along, and it got a lot better and a lot more entertaining to watch.
Holy crap. Matt just posted a stat that I did not know. We were ranked number 1 against the rush. And I see that we had a great inside line. We had a great rush stop, and we played against a lot of really good running backs. But that's crazy. Number 1 against the rush. Now, we did lose a lot of big guys. We lost Derek Wolfe. I know we talked about the replacement and kind of what we think is a replacement with Jarrell Casey. I think they at least steps up as the leadership role and that middle fill role. Do we think we could keep up that number 1, maybe top 5, we'll say realistically, top 5 against the rush this year?
Look, we need some people to step up. Yeah, it's especially with Fangio, leading the defense there. We just need some people to step up. We're going to miss Derek Wolfe, but we got to move on, right? So who's gonna fill that position? Who's going to take that leadership role? And I can't see us dropping so far just because we've lost a couple people that we're not going to be in the top 5. Easy.
It's got to rely on those inside backers at this point, because I think the defensive line is equivalent or better even than it was a year ago, at least for your starting front 3 guys. But if Josie Jewell can step in for Todd Davis, if Todd Davis has to miss a game or two, if Todd Davis hasn't lost a step, if he's still a really reliable guy there against the run, because I think Alexander Johnson, I think we all know we can expect him to be really, really solid like he was last year.
And with Todd Davis being, sidelined for now, we're going to get to see these other guys step up. They're going to get a little bit more practice. So hopefully he can hold his own while he's out. And then we'll get to watch a little bit, hopefully, of what could be potentially more depth. So,
yeah, absolutely. And, we'll see how Justin Hollins does. He was a guy who they tried it inside last off season before. Really, when we saw him during the season at all, he was mostly rushing from the outside. Right. So we'll just have to see. They tried the transition last season. It didn't take as much. They're trying again this off season just because there's not, Justin Strenat, as we talked about, not available any longer. So they, I would not be surprised at all if we sign a guy, whose name you used to know and now you don't really know, just as a depth signing there. But I also, I think we're probably going to go forward mostly with the guys we already have on the roster and hope that they can kind of work out. Even with the depth and the injury issues that we have there.
Yeah, or we can go with a signing of someone that drops somebody that we don't know and get another Johnson. I mean, before last season, we didn't really have nobody knew who Johnson was, and now and people still don't. I don't think are really giving him his due credit for what he's done for the Broncos defense, and I think that's going to be it. So the thing with Justin Hollins, I'm going to go back to it. I'm a big fan of Justin Hollins. I think he should play on the inside. Obviously, I'm not at practices. I don't see what he can or can't do, but his size, speed, and athleticism are for inside linebacker. They're not for the outside. They're not for that rush, because he was playing as the Von Miller backup to rushing, and apparently Matt doesn't agree with me. But he's got that speed to go sideline to sideline. I think as opposed to rushing the passer. He's about to roast me. I can guarantee it.
That'll be exciting for all of us.
But so what Tyler says, bring back Trevathan. So I mean, but in a bigger picture, I think teams across the board are really going to have to pay attention to who's available out there. There's going to be so many injuries this year, and you can knock on wood, but across the league, those soft tissue injuries are going to be prevalent, especially when the games start. There's no way to hide it. And going back to your article, David, but being able to recognize who's out there, and sometimes you might have to go grab someone a little early. Maybe you're like, I don't know if we really need him, but if you don't do it, he's probably going to be gone before too long. So I just think it's gonna add a whole nother level, not just NFL, but I think us fantasy football leagues as well. That waiver wire is going to go crazy this year.
Yeah. Well, and like I said earlier, Nigel Bradham was a solution, and Matt pointed out to me that he'd already signed with the Saints. Tyler says bring back Trevathan, but he re-signed with the Bears this offseason. So, that, if nothing else, says the depth around the league, just like the depth individual teams, it's just not going to be there if you need a starter to plug and play immediately. It's not going to happen. So we're going to have to, like we were talking about our in-house options. That's just the guys you're going to have to rely on this season. That's the way it is.
Should we go after Clowney? Oh my gosh, how much will we have to pay that dude? He's holding out for huge money, isn't he? I mean, he's a beast, don't get me wrong, but like where and what do we do? I don't know. I don't see that happening at all.
I think you're going to get just as much, if not more, production from Bradley Chubb.
I would. I would.
Matt says Kevin would have to put out.
Yeah,
I would.
Yeah, and
David can attest.
I can attest and will attest. Kevin's a team player that way. But yeah,
so
I don't
want to show us his sausage moves. Huh? Just kidding, Kev. All right, go for it.
Man.
Go, Kev.
Yeah,
Go, Kev.
But yeah, I don't know
man.
what Clowney gives you this offseason that I think you can't get from Bradley Chubb. I don't see really any kind of point or really room on this team for a Jadeveon Clowney. Not that he's not a great player, but
he's great. He is fantastic, but
I don't see the fit.
What price?
Okay, let's go back to Jesse. Let's talk about the secondary again, because I do like talking about this secondary.
Jesse.
I think we have some pretty good secondary here. You know Jesse apparently, or are we just shouting him out? That's what I'm talking about. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about Bosby and Devontae Bosby. I know we talked about it a little bit, but is he underrated? Does he deserve to be higher on the depth chart than Isaac Adams?
Well, I think he already is, but it's tough to say that he's underrated just because, he had 2 good games last year. He had the Jacksonville game and the Green Bay game before that Jacksonville game where he really showed out and said, this guy should be a starter on this team permanently. And then the Jacksonville game is the one where he got hurt, unfortunately. So it's hard to say he's underrated just because we haven't seen him do it that much in a Broncos uniform yet. That doesn't mean we won't, but it's, right now, as far as the coaching staff goes, it's kind of like we've got to see a little bit more from him just as far as consistency before we're ready to say this guy's ready to be a huge big-time contributor week to week for our team.
Yeah, and somebody remind me, did Bosby get hurt? Why did he only play 3 games?
Yeah, he had a spine injury that, when it happened, everybody was saying, there's a chance.
Oh,
you're right.
Man, I remember that now.
Yeah.
Oh, that was him.
Yeah. He had a pretty severe injury. And, it was kind of a question of, is he going to be able to function properly?
I remember
is he
that
going to play football? Yeah.
I just like everybody was just silent. Like that nobody knew how to react to that. That was crazy. I forgot about that.
Right. Yeah.
It's pretty big time. Hey, Kev, can you share where you're at? Because I'm pretty jealous because I haven't left my house since March.
Really, that long?
Well, I go to the store every once in a while, but seriously, I don't go out anywhere.
Well, I know we've all kind of had that issue this year. So Colorado Cork and Keg is open for business, guys. Before we kind of start going towards the end of the show, I do want to mention them one more time. If you went $10 New Belgium pitchers, Sundays they have bottomless mimosas, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And it's either a way to get into the game and get that pregame going. But you also have the option of mentioning Orange Weekly when you get here. And David and I think we're actually going to try this out when we come to broadcast some of the games here. About once a month, we're going to do that for you guys. We're just going to walk in and say, Orange Weekly sent us here and see if we get half off our first drink.
It sounds like such a great option, especially since they've already announced game 1, no fans in the stadium. So you're going to have to find somewhere comfortable to watch the game where you feel, like you're part of it. You might as well go check that out.
So, this is the great thing about this place is it's right between Denver and Colorado Springs. So it's not that far of a drive. If you're already planning on driving up to the Broncos game and there's not going to be any fans, why not drive halfway up and come to Colorado Cork and Keg? But I'm sure if you guys have been watching, they got great food here too. They got it all. So plenty of TVs. It's not a huge bar, but it has enough space to, there's pool here, plenty of food, plenty of tables, plenty of TVs. This is the place to be for sure. So want to shout out Colorado Cork and Keg for letting me set up here. We're going to do this a couple more times preseason. And then David and I are going to be calling some games from here about once a month once football starts back up. So this is going to be where we're at. So come by and say hi.
Messy.
I know, right?
Messy's a good word for it. Let's see what happens.
I think I want to do this thing, guys. When you guys
over your face.
when you guys are there, next time you guys are there, I want some sort of vote. I want the viewers to vote on what you drink next, and I just want to see how ridiculous it gets. I'm hoping for apple teenies. Maybe
duck fart.
I don't know what that is.
It's disgusting. It's a shot. Hello, I'm like so old, like a duck fart shot.
If the military guys haven't heard of it, that's telling you something.
Haven't you been to Vegas? Get out of here.
Yes, I have had a Vegas car bomb.
Oh boy. Yep. Let me put it to you this way, and I'm going to I'll probably regret this offer as the season goes along, but listen now, Orange Weekly fans in Broncos country, I will not turn down any drink. All right.
Wow.
Once you put that poll out there, I will take that shot. Like,
I'm just going to make up a new one. Like, here, you take the cat piss.
Just ask the waitress. This is gonna be one of those episodes of that show where they just do ridiculous things. Ask the waitress for a cat piss and see what happens.
They just mix some ammonia, a little bit of ammonia with a shit ton of vodka.
Probably tequila.
You need like a Heineken and tequila with like a sugar rim. I don't know.
So, to move on past this conversation, I am up for the challenge, though, David. I will beat you. Drinking any drink. But we have talked a lot about injuries tonight, right? So, if you want to have insurance in case you get injured, which, look, if you're, we're going to go out there for Thanksgiving for too long and play some football with the family and stuff. And what if something happens? You want to visit Colorado. It's Centennial State Insurance. We just got the script from them not too long ago. Centennial State Insurance. Check them out. They will set you up with all your insurance needs. This whiskey is also not helping. But
we have a banner. So for those of you that can't understand Kevin's incoherent rambling, go ahead and check out the banner. There's a phone number there. Call Centennial State Insurance. They got your back. Make sure you give them a call if you feel like you're going to do something stupid.
You don't want to do that. You want to have insurance before something happens. So
we are kind of the self-proclaimed degenerates of the Broncos fan country. We just get drunk and talk football, which I think a lot of people enjoy. Hopefully. And whether you enjoy us doing it or you doing it, I think just getting drunk and talking Broncos football is what we will like to do. So if you feel like getting drunk and talking Broncos football and maybe doing something stupid like jumping off your roof into a pool in December,
we do not
call Centennial State Insurance Agency.
I only did that once. Why you got to keep bringing that up?
We should be clear about the fact that we are not encouraging that, and that we
absolutely not
in no way, shape, or form. But if you decided on your own that for some reason that would be a good idea, Centennial State Insurance is the one to call.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh man. All right. Well, we got our sponsorships out of the way. So now we're going to go through and let's go around the room. Let's talk about what we're most excited about for maybe not just the Broncos, but especially the Broncos defense going into this season. Ayla, let's start with you.
Oh gosh. Okay. So I already brought up Justin Simmons as my goosebumps factor. I didn't get to say it as well, but I'm super excited. AJ Johnson. I think this guy is our secret beast. It's our secret weapon. I think he really feels it, and I want him to bring it this year. Bring me that dinosaur. I don't know if he's a T-Rex or a Velociraptor. I don't really care, but I'm all about the dinosaur mode, and I think he's got something special that it's just going to erupt this year. I can't wait. I'm excited.
Inside pass rush, which I think we haven't really had a special inside pass rush since Malik Jackson. Thank you. Malik Jackson left this team after the 2015 season with Jarrell Casey, like we were talking about before. But with so many guys who can rotate in there, DeMarcus Walker, Draymond Jones, McTelvin Agim, I think you're going to get a bunch of guys who can rush the passer from the inside, which is going to create a ton of different opportunities for guys like Bradley Chubb and Von Miller and Malik Reed, or, blitz packages with the corner or safety coming off. You're going to have a lot more different ways to get pressure this season than last season. And I am really looking forward to see those guys step in with confidence kind of from the beginning and make a difference for this team.
Kev?
I'm excited to see what Coach Fangio dials up, especially for these first few games. I don't really have any problem believing that these players are going to step up because everybody knows how the rest of the team's going to be leaning on the defense, right? So we have a genius mind in Coach Fangio, and I think he's going to be able to get the defense on the right page to step up and get this team going in the right direction. I mean, we get those first couple wins under our belt, we get some momentum, the defense get better, the offense starts trusting each other more, building that connection between them all. I think there's just a lot of good possibilities as long as the players step up, but and we stay as healthy as possible, knock on wood. So it's going to be a great ride, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think using the defense to give our offense a little time to gel, and it could be a great combination.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, Matt, I'm going to need you to help me out here. We were the number one rush defense last
year. Why are you asking
year.
for Matt's out? Like, do we not remember?
He gave us all these stats. No,
Yeah.
look, can I just? Okay, I'm trying to throw him a bone.
remember what
Can
he said.
Yeah, Dad, can you help me? Can you help me, Dad? Can you just throw up a couple stats so I can pretend to go off of it and pretend like I know what I'm talking about? So there we go. All right. Those are the stats I'm looking for. All right, so we were the number one rush defense, number 5 overall defense last year. We lost a couple key players. I get it. We have a couple key players coming back. Remember, we only had Bradley Chubb for a couple games at the beginning of the season. We didn't have Bryce Callahan for most of any of the season. AJ Bouye is an addition, with the real big losses in my eyes with Derek Wolfe and Chris Harris leaving. Other than that, we had a great defense last year. I think we're going to keep it up this year, especially now. And again, we talked about offense last time, and I don't really want to go too deep into it. When we have an offense that can actually get first downs and hold the ball and control the clock, the less time the defense is out there, the better, and the better our stats look. Because if we can hold them to maybe 150 yards per game as opposed to 300 because they had the ball for more than 75%. Matt, I will go through this.
We can all agree that
we're not going to say the word Flacco.
Okay.
That's like,
Jared, you got the Flacco jersey. Just admit it. Okay.
Those are fighting words.
I know.
Where's the stat for the lowest selling Broncos jersey? I'm pretty sure it was a Flacco. Stop it.
I'm sure Jerry Rice sold more jerseys in his 3 weeks as a Bronco. I'm 100% certain of that. Oh my gosh.
As much as I wanted to believe into it, I wanted to believe it. It didn't happen. Now we're moving on. Let's just the F word. Come on. Knock it up.
Yes.
Listen.
Knock it up.
I know. I haven't bought one. I have not bought Eckert number 69 jersey. So
I might have now. I kind of know a guy, so let's see if
I may have purchased that jersey in all 3 colors, and the regret is there. That is absolutely for sure. The regret is there.
It still has more sales than Flacco. Come on.
Yeah, thank you for the support. I appreciate you guys' support on that.
Absolutely.
Oh man. All right, so let's go around again, and we'll start again with you, Ayla. What is the thing that we're the most worried about heading into the first game of the season for our Broncos defense?
Well, as almost a doctor, I'm, Ayla MD is going to have to go with health. I'm most worried about health and staying good to go for the entire season. I don't want to see early injuries. Let's try and hold out a few games. I think that plays into what Jared said of, keep our defense off the field as much as they can by making our offense work harder and get more yards. Let's get a lot of first downs. So let's keep these guys healthy so we can be consistent throughout the season. We don't need to use our depth as much.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kev.
David?
Oh, all right.
Kev.
Well,
Go
go ahead, Kev.
Okay, so I promise I have a better microphone for this, and it will be better next week. However, we saw a lot of good things from Drew Lock last year, but in his first couple games, there were some close calls, especially in that game against Kansas City. I know it was snowing in his first game in Kansas City and all that stuff, but there were a couple close calls. And after that, he started doubting himself just a little bit. There wasn't really the connection there, especially between, all the wide receivers at that point. But, 5 games at the end of the season, there wasn't a lot of time, right? But hopefully over this offseason, he's worked on that. He's built that relationship with his offensive players, and he starts to trust himself as well. So I don't doubt that they're going to let him open up the playbook a little bit for him and say, hey, go make it happen. But that's going to rely on him trusting himself. So over this offseason, we'll see if that happened. But if that really hasn't evolved over this offseason and he's still second-guessing himself, that's where we're going to have some problems with the offense. Thankfully, we have some strong running backs to back it up, but we can't just rely on that. We need him on the offense to go out and make something happen as well. So I don't know if that worried is the right word, but definitely concerned if he's still having those kind of difficulties.
Okay.
What gets me, especially from a defensive point of view, and especially with the Titans coming up the first game of the season, is this team going to be ready to tackle in an off season where you've got less in the way of training camp, padded practices are on a different schedule than they've been. Vic Fangio is a guy who demands tackling out of every position on his defense. He's known for that. And you've got veterans on this defense for the most part at key positions. It's not like the offense where they're counting on a bunch of young guys to start right away. But you are worried about going up against Derrick Henry and that heavy rushing attack. Can these guys make the first tackle without having to get to that second level? Are these guys going to be able to get to the point of attack and shut down the play quickly? Or are we going to see a game of Derrick Henry's? Because we've all seen how easily it can go from a 2-yard rush with Derrick Henry to a 20 or 30-yard rush because just nobody can bring him down.
I think it'll be a great test.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's going to be my key is, are these guys going to be able to go out and show their tackling ability early in the season? And if not, what kind of consequences is that going to have?
Yeah, Ayla stole mine, and I didn't think of something new. So I think
a bunch of time.
Can we I was listening to you. I was actively listening to you guys and agreeing and thinking about what you guys were thinking of.
Trying to steal your point.
Yeah, I know, right?
Hey, only I can fire people, and he's not there yet.
No.
Oh, thank God.
No way. Please don't fire Jared.
Yeah. Thank you, Ayla. So as we're going forward, I think my biggest worry, honestly, is on the offensive side. It's not so much on the defensive side, but that linebacker depth really, really worries me. That linebacker depth is where I'm worried about. And again, we talked about it earlier in the episode. What are we going to do about covering tight ends? Obviously, we changed up to a little bit more of a zone scheme when we brought in Vic Fangio last year, and it worked to a point. Probably better than it has in past years. However, do we have the guys that can be able to cover that zone, especially when we're talking about tight ends who are zone killers when you're talking about as a quarterback? Because the quarterback's first look sometimes can be a tight end, depending on the quality of tight end. And it's really difficult to stop that. So that's my biggest concern is that linebacker position and the depth of that linebacker position.
Definitely. Yeah, and like we talked about. We've already seen it in training camp here, so let's see, as it bears out into the regular season, what's going to happen.
We don't know. We're going to watch.
One more question from
Absolutely.
Andrew. Yeah, one more question from Andrew on any word on how Tuska is doing in camp. He can play. We'll see. I haven't really heard his name mentioned a whole lot. It sounds like right now he is not breaking into second team snaps or anything like that. He's not taking any practice time away from Malik Reed or Justin Hollins on that second team pass rusher position. Right. But with guys like him, a second or a seventh round pick who's trying to find any way onto the roster, it's going to come down to special teams play. Can he contribute in a meaningful way on special teams as well as in a backup pass rusher scenario? He's a guy who has really suffered from a lack of preseason games. Because I think he's a guy who you would see pretty consistently in the third and fourth quarter of all of these preseason games getting meaningful snaps. And, he's just not getting a chance to do that this season. So if he's showing the coaching staff that he can really show out on special teams, that's really going to be his path to the roster. And he'll figure out the rest from there, I think.
I think on top of the preseason games, I think he's suffering in the past from the whole situation where we had with the draft and not being able to do live visits. So he's a North Dakota State guy, great athletic ability, but didn't play in really a top tier conference. And we picked him up super late in the rounds. What he's doing in preseason would have really shown us what he could do. And you're right. I think he's going to be one of those guys that if he does get sent down to the practice squad or even cut, he's going to be from that situation, and that's the reason why it happens.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
All right. I think we're going to start wrapping up. Let me do a rap sheet. Of all the stuff. Okay, Kevin, what do you want?
I didn't say I wanted anything.
You held your hands up like you just won a WWE championship. What's up, man?
I didn't see that.
All right, let's do the rap sheet. So obviously we're going to do our Tuesday shows. We're going to be here every Tuesday for you from starting last week all the way till the end of the season, whether the end of the season is next week or, 18 weeks from now. So we're going to keep going with you guys. We're going to be here with you guys every Tuesday. Look out for our Monday night shows once the season starts. We're going to have late night shows on Monday night. We're going to have our podcasts, obviously, anytime you're listening on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, whatever you're listening to your podcast on, we'll have this episode, as well as when the season starts, we'll have 3 episodes per week for you guys. And then on Saturdays, we're going to do something called Ragers. So Ragers is coming to you. I think we're going to start actually this Saturday to start giving you some of the preseason bets that are coming up, the Caesar Sportsbook, what we're looking at, what bets you should make, what bets you might not want to make as we're going into the season. We may or may not make you money, and we're not liable for any money you may or may not lose. Or make. Come on. Raymond's much better at this than I am, and he's going to give you all the insight that he's been doing a lot of research on this, and he will help you out. And then as we're going through, obviously they're going to be live streaming. David and Kevin are going to be live streaming from Cork and Keg. One more spot for them. There in Castle Rock, as well as our halftime hash probably from Cork and Keg as well. Make sure you guys go join them. If you guys are at a loss, if you guys are in the Castle Rock / Colorado Springs / Denver area, South Denver area, go visit them, go hang out with them, maybe get on the show, check it out, and we could talk Broncos with you guys. We really appreciate all the comments and all the watching you guys do. I mean, this means the world to us. We've been here this is going to be going on our 5th year, and it really does mean the world to us that you guys are here talking to us because we love it. This is what we're here for. What's up, David? I got you.
Especially if you guys are enjoying the podcasts, go on to iTunes, throw us a 5-star review there. That helps us with our visibility, reaching other fans so much. Even if you don't leave a review, leave us a 5-star review. That boosts our visibility so much. If you're looking for one easy way to help us, guys, that is such a quick and easy way to do it.
Yeah, sign on, 5-star. Do it on Facebook too. Come follow us on Instagram and Twitter, you guys. I mean, we're as good as our fans, and we're all together. So,
right,
fans.
What else we got? We got
news.
We got a Twitter. We got a Facebook. We got a Reddit. We got a YouTube. We got a Twitch now. I think I mentioned our MySpace last time.
MySpace has really been blowing up.
It's blowing up. I think we're the only people on MySpace right now, which I think it's a record.
I definitely helping in our favor.
I better be in your top 8. So.
Absolutely.
And Trey Richards asking, yes.
Have you respell that, Matt?
Yeah.
Ayla, what's our Insta?
Orange Weekly. It's super easy. At Orange Weekly. Come find us on Instagram. Come give us a follow. I'm going to be doing a giveaway coming up here soon. We got cool Broncos gear. So bet you can only be a part of it if you follow us. Hey.
And weekly
I already
content.
followed the page. Does that
They-
do we
I
get
know.
entered?
somehow that
Oh.
counts less, Kevin. I don't know how, but it counts less.
We lost
Are
3
you
followers
still-
by you saying that.
Oh,
I got my
Where's that
my
brought
bourbon
now?
and
Where's
my
that
brat. I don't care. That's okay.
0 F's given
man.
right now. It's preseason Kevin, and he don't give a F.
Yeah.
No.
Instagram, just at Orange Weekly. Same with Twitter. Come and give us a follow. Come ask us questions. Send us a DM. Let's talk. Let's be friends.
Slide
Come
right into our DMs, guys. Come on, we are open to
on.
it.
Come out.
And visit us at visit us at BroncosOrangeWeekly.com too. We've got written content coming for you every single week of this season.
Yes.
I've got my trends article coming out, my first trends article, which is hopefully going to be a staple of this season, coming out this week. We're going to have Matt's mailbag every single week. So if you've got questions that we somehow don't cover on any of these shows, write into Matt. He's going to go on a deep dive for you. We've got so much content for you guys. You're going to be sick of our faces if you're not
You're gonna be
already.
sick of it.
Right,
You're gonna
by-
I'm already sick of our faces.
By episode
Content's
2,
coming out the
Everybody's sick of
wazoo.
your face,
Except for
Ken.
Ayla's.
Knock it off.
Ayla's is the only good one here because it's
Yeah,
not good.
Ayla's needs to be the face of the company because that's definitely not us.
100%.
Here, this is how we're just going to do our shows. We'll be talking. Ayla will be right there. You know, it'll be good.
Oh, man. All right, well, I think we are well drunk enough. Kevin may have had too much of his sausage, and we are going to sign off. Is there any last minute words you guys want to say? Is there anything you guys want to talk about? Nope. We got no's. We got no there. We got
Broncos.
go
Cheers.
Broncos on the drinks.
I am really
All right.
excited
Hey,
to-
well, everybody, thanks again for listening. And as always, cheers and
Cheers.
Go Broncos.
Take care,
Go
everyone.
Broncos.